Hello again, everyone. Edwin Lerner back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to be talking about the November 4th, 2021 new moon in Scorpio. There will be a new moon at 12 degrees Scorpio on November 4th, 2021. Now, a new moon can give a prodigious amount of energy. The energy may be very uninhibited and unrestrained. You may feel very rejuvenated at the time of the new moon. Now, whatever may have prohibited you or held you back may not do so now. It may be a time to discard what is frivolous or superfluous at this time, and could also be a time of new beginnings. And with this being in Scorpio, it may be the beginning of having control and power in some sector of your life, and also even transformation. Excuse me. Now, with this being in Scorpio, it can be the start of doing something with much passion and even relentlessness. You may even obsess over whatever it is you're embarking on at this time. Now, the new moon is introspective, and it could be the start of contemplating something that will be finalized at the time of the full moon. Now, for example, let's say the transit new moon in Scorpio falls in one's 8th house. It may manifest in the beginning of obliterating um, a shared resources situation, or even where one may be getting some kind of monetary support, and it could culminate with the full moon lunar eclipse being in Taurus in the 2nd house, which may manifest in having stability and more persistence and stability in generating one's own income, and also self-worth connected with generating one's own income. And the thing about this is it's also important when you have this transit to look at contra-indicators that might impact that person's energy level at the time of the new moon. Now, when you have new moon in astrology, it can give a surfeit and abundance of energy. But let's say if you have like some contraindicators, like example, transit Mars and or the Sun in the 12th house of limitations and restrictions, or even let's say transit Neptune is making an adverse aspect to one's natal Sun, ascendant, or even Mars. These transits may modify the new moon energy, and you may have less energy than otherwise indicated by the general delineation meaning of that new moon. And the thing about this too is keep in mind that when you're talking about a new moon astrology, in this particular one is being in Scorpio, it can impact all signs collectively, but especially if you have a Scorpio sun, moon, or ascendant, or one that's simply, or I should say, I'm sorry, or a Cancer sun, moon, or ascendant, because Scorpio, of course, because it's going to be in their own sign. And Cancer, because, well, Cancer is simply very sensitive to all transits and phases of the moon, since the moon does rule and govern Cancer. Now, may be strongly attributed to why the zodiac sign Cancer can be so moody, fickle, and temperamental. Now, it could also be the start, when you talk about Scorpio energy, the start of going beyond superficiality and subterfuge, going beyond facades at this time. And if somebody has, or people you feel have been, pulling the wool over your eyes, or it's like this sheep in wolf's clothing, or what have you, or people with ulterior motives, this could be the time now where you begin to start the process anyway of unveiling these people, and really exposing them for who they are. They're frauds, and they're people that were impersonating your friends, and they're really not. And say, especially if you have this like in the 12th house, this transit, it could be a very good time actually for the process of unveiling these people that may have been they may be really actually hidden adversaries, and taking the guise off them, so to speak. Not GUISC, not GUYS, but anyway, the disguise, the facade off these people. Now, another thing too is another way this may manifest. It could be the start, again, having some kind of power or control in your life. It could be deep research, investigation. It could be the start of some criminal profiling. Let's say if you have this in the third house as an example, it could be somebody in your neighborhood maybe you're suspicious of. It could be a time where you begin to maybe do some extensive research on this person. And it could be a time to where when you look at this transit as well, it could also be a time beginning of investigation or problem solving, or dealing with crisis or unveiling some corruption, even whether it could be in your neighborhood or what have you. Now, in some cases too, this could be the beginning of a Scorpio profession or position, especially if it falls in what I call one of the money houses, the second, sixth, or 10th house in the natal chart. It could be a start of a position in locksmithing, embalming, working as a coroner, a surgeon, a mortician, working in forensics, investigation, the occult, which includes astrology, or even as a funeral director, as some examples. Billing and coding could be another example. And just look at it, see this new moon a little bit more here. Well, the thing is too, could also be, looking at this, it's important to look at what house it falls in, as this could impact the delineation and interpretation. Now, mine is going to fall in the 6th house. Now, for me, this may manifest in the beginning of simply transforming my health or something in the daily routine. It could be doing something different with something in astrology in the daily routine, perhaps an astrology service to others with more passion and emotional intensity, as an example. Now, let's say if this falls in the 1st or 6th house. Now, though the new moon is generally going to be auspicious, I believe this could also, in some cases, could be the onset of a Scorpio health-related matter. Remember, the new moon is about something that starts. It could be some issue with the colon, the prostate, the bladder, urinary tract, the reproductive, pelvic region, even hemorrhoids, perhaps in some cases. The fact that it's a new moon, though, in contrast to a supermoon or solar eclipse, I would say it'd be lighter, less intense, and a physical problem that may not be overly serious. I would say a supermoon or say a solar eclipse could be the start of something a little bit more serious. That it's more, though, those transits are more intensified. So I think this could be more of a minor health-related issue if there is an onset of something. Now, the thing about this too, though, could be, let's say, if this falls in the 5th house, it could be the start of an extreme sport in some cases for some people, or gaining more power and control over a situation with a child or lover, or it could simply be something like starting something with astrology or the supernatural, maybe a board game connected with it, or even using a Ouija board as some examples, because the 5th house, of course, is the house of fun, amusement, enjoyment, and games. Now, the thing is, let's say if it falls in the 12th house in the natal chart, this transit, well, that can manifest in a number of ways. It could be the beginning. Some cases, it may be this some kind of Scorpio-related mental illness, like an obsessive compulsive situation. Now, I don't know, disorder, I should say. Now, I don't know if there are varying, levels or degrees of that kind of mental illness, but if there are, it could be more of a lighter, one that's not as intensified or serious. Now, in some other instances, it could be the beginning of obliterating or destroying some limitation you may have. It could be it might be the start of a transformation that is spiritual. Remember, Scorpio is connected with transformation. The 12th house is associated with spirituality. It could be a very auspicious time for that if you have this transit in the 12th house and you have been contemplating about becoming more spiritual, as an example. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back. But anyway, could also be if it's the the transit of the new moon in Scorpio falls in the 12th house. It could be expressed in the beginning of dealing with maybe a powerful, very surreptitious hidden adversary, sometimes a stalker even. In some isolated cases, I would say Scorpio would be the sign connected with that. Now, also too, it's important to look at the aspects that it makes to points in your chart, as this could, of course, impact the delineation and interpretation. Now, this is going to make at least a loose trine to my natal sun in Cancer. Now, this could be propitious, or it could add focus and drive and motivation, which of course is associated with the sun, in being dedicated and devoted, which is associated with the zodiac sign Cancer, in perhaps doing something Scorpio related in the daily routine or work. And it's going to also, interestingly enough, it's going to make an inconjunct aspect to my natal moon in Gemini in the first house. Now, it could be a battle, adjustment between what's deep and complex, feeling like doing things more deeply and in the things that are more complex, which is Scorpio, versus the emotional need, which is the moon, and to do what's more superficial and light, which of course is Gemini. Now, Scorpio goes beyond the surface, and Gemini, of course, is superficial, and just likes to get a lot of times Gemini just likes to get the gist of things, and Scorpio wants to be more deep and probing. So be interesting to see that pan out with me when I have this transit now. And also too, it could be also too, the moon, also keep in mind, can govern it does govern prominent women in one's life, and it could be maybe for me, trying to fight a battle, perhaps in me where wants something like a deep connection, with a woman, as opposed to maybe more superficial ones. So it'll be interesting, this new moon. And remember, we're going to have the lunar eclipse take place, I believe, on November 19th, I think it is. And anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Leonard saying stay well.